Hello, this is Zahirul. Welcome you all on Frankly Speaking. My guest today is Mr. Julian Francis, a hugely respected and well-known figure in Bangladesh. He has been awarded citizenship of Bangladesh recently for his outstanding contribution to Bangladesh since its independence. He also received Order of British Empire (OBE) for services to development in Bangladesh. Over 5 decades since, Julian Francis has demonstrated a strongly principled and passionate commitment to helping the most vulnerable and disadvantaged people in Bangladesh. He was also awarded a couple of years back, 6 years back, the honor of Friends of Liberation War honor by the Bangladesh government. We welcome Julian Francis on Frankly Speaking. Welcome, Julian Francis.
Thank you very much.
And for the second time, I'm receiving you on Frankly Speaking, and it's a great honor for us that you have been awarded citizenship of Bangladesh. How does it feel?
It's a great honor for me, yes. When I received the Friends of Liberation War honor, I said at that time that I didn't know of any country that has said thank you in that way, and so this is another, this was another great honor indeed.
When it was awarded, I mean, the last year in...
Yes, in July last year.
And Honorable Prime Minister handed over the citizenship
That's right, yes.
certificate to you. And who were also there during that time? I heard that the British High Commissioner and other, coincidentally, was present there.
Yes, she was there along with a Member of Parliament from the UK on an official visit, Roshanara Ali, who is the Trade Commissioner, the link with Sylhet, I suppose, and the Home Minister was there, and other senior officials.
Not many foreign nationals have been awarded this status in Bangladesh.
No, I understand 7 foreign nationals have received full citizenship, and some others have received honorary citizenship.
Have you been cherishing this for a long time to have citizenship of Bangladesh?
Well, I mean, particularly as Bangladesh has become my home, I suppose that was something that I was looking forward to the possibility, let's put it that way.
And you were also awarded Order of British Empire by the British government, by the British Empire. I mean, after many years, what led them to recognize this contribution, in your view?
Well, I think that obviously there aren't many Britishers who have been connected to Bangladesh for so many years, but there are 4 of us who have received citizenship from Bangladesh who are still alive, and 3 of them are outstanding women, and myself. So quite a small group.
After receiving citizenship, definitely you can now be the voter of Bangladesh in any elections.
I can. I first need to get my national ID card and then get registered as a voter, yes.
So you know Bangladesh since its independence. You came in early 60s in this region as Oxfam official, and you have been working for humanitarian support for the people in need, for the people in distress. So if you look back to the journey you started in this area for Bangladeshi refugees, I mean, how you get the reminiscence of that right now after 50 years?
Well, of course, going back to I happened to be in India, working in Bihar with the Gandhians, the Gandhi Peace Foundation, different ashrams in a village development program with the very poorest and landless and poorest. And then towards the end of 3 years there, then the crisis in Bangladesh started with thousands of refugees coming across the border. And so some of us in Bihar were asked by Oxfam to go to Calcutta and the border areas to see what was actually happening, because getting telegrams in the UK saying 10,000 or 20,000 have crossed at a particular border crossing, nobody believed those figures.
Yeah.
They thought the telegram operator had put an extra zero.
Oh, okay.
So then that's how I got involved in the refugee relief operation, which covered in those days for Oxfam about 600,000 refugees from Bangladesh.
You know, this country after independence is close to 5 decades time. It's a long journey. When you look at the development, when you look at the challenges, when you look at the people, look at the culture of Bangladesh, what comes to your mind first about this nation, about the people of this land?
Well, I suppose what comes first is how hard working everybody is, particularly in the rural areas. Well, to begin with, in the rural areas certainly, but and to remember that Bangladesh started in a very precarious state, because
somebody termed it as a bottomless basket.
Yes, well, that was an unfortunate comment, I think, but in the beginning, with the food shortages and the dislocation of the transport as a result of the Liberation War, it was very difficult, even if the food supplies were in the country, to move them around the country in the right way. And so that was a very difficult time, and before anything could rapidly improve, then there was a famine in 1974, which was to a large extent man-made. The American government of the time punished Bangladesh for wanting to export jute to Cuba, and so food grain supplies in millions of tons by sea were diverted elsewhere.
That was a very unpleasant and unfortunate chapter of history.
That's right. And so it was a very difficult start. I remember in 1972, early 1972, some of the senior UN officials, much more experienced than me at that time, I was only 26, they were doubting whether Bangladesh could survive as a nation state.
Okay. Mr. Julian, it's time to take a short break. We'll be back and discuss some more issues related to your interest and the process of Bangladesh development. You're watching Frankly Speaking. My guest is Mr. Julian Francis. Mr. Julian, after receiving the citizenship of Bangladesh, you are a regular citizen of Bangladesh right now. So as are many other citizens of Bangladesh, what Bangladesh you are envisioning at? How you are looking at this country for its march on development or its days ahead?
Well, in a very positive way. There are many amazing developments. I mean, of course, one of the remarkable ones has been the food production and all the scientific work done with plant breeding to get varieties of rice growing in drier areas and in saline areas, and So that's been a remarkable development, and of course the ready-made garments industries has been quite amazing in its in the speed of work, and of course the way it has affected the lives of women, because when I first came to Bangladesh, one in the cities anyway, one hardly saw any women at all. Now women have got a strong voice, not only in the garment factories, but there are many more women coming into business and into the government service, of course.
Imagine that you are giving a responsibility as a citizen of Bangladesh. What changes, what critical changes you would love to bring about first?
Well, I think as living in Dhaka, I think everybody suffers a great deal with the traffic jams. And it's not only the lack of mass transport, public transport, but it's also the education. I mean, people need to be educated about how to drive properly, and the pedestrians need to be educated about their role as well, their responsibility as well, and that needs, road traffic sense needs to start at a very young age. So that needs to come into primary schools, from primary schools. Even when I was growing up 70 years ago, we were taught about how to cross the road safely. And in those days in London, there weren't very many cars. So we learnt very early about road safety, and there is a great. I get very frustrated to see the lack of patience of people on the road.
We know, we all recognize, we all acknowledge that this country has made remarkable, significant progress over the last decades. Our economic growth, our infrastructure, despite of having all the challenges. But in the coming days and years, if you consider the very critical challenges like corruption, governance, population, what are the issues come to your mind which needs to be addressed immediately or overcome the challenges or obstacles or the barriers for the days to come?
Well, yes, obviously corruption is a big problem, and it was interesting. I worked with a Ministry of Land project funded by the EU, and through that project one could understand there was a lot of corruption in the land offices at Upazila or district level. Now we see that everything is being computerized, so that reduces the possibility, and I've noted in the press that the new land minister is taking this very seriously. So that is, I mean, corruption is not is everywhere. Sometimes in some countries it's more obvious, but in other countries it takes place, but it's hidden. So it's not peculiar to any one country or region. But one thing I feel successive governments have failed to do is invest more money in the railways, because if more money had been invested in the railways, the traffic jams on the main routes, say Dhaka, Chittagong, would be less.
Yeah, definitely. But can I have your impression about what are the most impressive thing which makes you somehow ecstatic, joyful, delighted about Bangladesh, or living in Bangladesh, or seeing the people of Bangladesh?
Well, Everybody, even some of the very poorest, they are also very hospitable and friendly and interested, and so that's a special qualities that I see, and they're always interested to find out what I'm doing and where I've come from, and I apologize for not being as good at Bangla as I should be, because my Bangla is a mixture of Bangla and Hindi. But the resilience of people and their capacity of hard work is quite amazing.
Mr. Julian Francis, we have experienced an election. After the election, a new government came into power. What do you expect from the new government?
Well, I expect the new government to tackle some of the problems you have mentioned about governance and corruption, but also focusing on education and healthcare. So there are many things to do, and they now are in such a powerful position, so that they can implement plans very strongly. I think we would all agree that a robust opposition is with constructive criticism, it always brings the best out of the government. But so that is one area that is a little bit of a problem. But to continue the development progress, whether it's at 7 or 8% growth will be quite remarkable. Moving into the middle income countries, that also will have other aspects of, perhaps donors will be then looking for other places to spend their money. So everything needs to be carefully managed and monitored.
Do you think that Bangladesh is now having a very positive and very upward branding in the outer world in the current age for its development and all the progresses it has made?
I think in some countries, yes, but I think the Bangladesh government, through its embassies and high commissions, needs to publicize some of the successes much more than has been done in the past.
But when you walk around this town or look around this country, around these people, is there anything which makes you unhappy, which makes you a little disturbed?
Well, I would say that although, you know, at the beginning of Bangladesh, yes, people were dying of starvation, but I would go out on I'm courageous enough to say that nobody does, because their neighbors will not allow them to be in that situation. But the gap between the rich and the poor is increasing, and so that is a concern, a serious concern.
What the core problem lies with reducing the widening disparity between rich and poor? Is that, I mean, systemic problem with distribution of wealth or management or governance? Or
well, yeah, I mean, a lot of it is, I'm sure there are a lot more people who should be paying income tax, for instance, and so that needs to be looked at, and many businesses are able to avoid paying VAT. So that is a serious problem. and then that money could be going into some of the safety nets or that would help the situation.
Do you think that the country with increasing number of populations of what it is right now, 160 or plus or close to 170, would be falling under deep trouble with this huge population, or it would be an asset for this country in the days to come?
Well, I think an asset, because there are so many new avenues of business, whether it's in the IT sector or other export sectors. Mm-hmm. So I don't see that it is going to be a major problem.
Okay.
It is a problem in many countries that people are living longer, and therefore there is a problem of increased health care for the elderly. So that is another problem that many countries are facing.
Any of your assessment or analysis on the performance of the health sector or education sector in Bangladesh, the way it has been performing?
Well, I have had a very close interest and association in the disability sector, and so whereas 30 years ago very little was being done at any level, but now much more is being done, and in many areas these community clinics that have been set up are working very well, and that's been quite a success. It's not a uniform success all over the country. It depends very much on the interest and the enthusiasm of people at the union or upazila level, but that has been what I've seen. That has been a very positive, and of course the increased number of children going to school. There's still a problem of dropouts, and there's still a problem of the girls getting married too early, even though the official age may be one thing, but they are often being married at far too early age, which is not good for the education and not good for their health either.
You just mentioned that the gap between rich and poor is somehow or other widening, the disparity. Can you shed some light on the empowerment of women folks in Bangladesh? Well,
I mean, there have been great steps forward for women, but still there aren't enough women in, say, in the parliament. I know you have reserved seats for women, but there aren't enough elected women. But and also maybe not enough women actually go into full-time jobs. But the whole development of women has been progressive, but their voices are not as strong as they should be.
After looking back 50 years and 5 decades, what Bangladesh, you want to see after 50 years?
Oh, after 50 years, well, I would like to see that the disparity between the rich and the poor is less. I'm not saying it as a socialist or as a communist or anything like that, but there needs to be a bit more understanding and compassion between the different levels of society. And
whoever living in the still living in abject poverty, they need to be lifted out from that grinding poverty.
Yes, absolutely, and of course, although the extreme poverty level has come down quite significantly,
Yes,
in the last 10 and 20 years, but still the bottom 10% will be a challenge, and that's where the people with disabilities are often in that sector. So that is another challenge.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Julian Francis, for joining me on Frankly Speaking.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much. It's an honor. Dear viewers, that's all my conversation with Mr. Julian Francis, and we are also indeed very proud to have him as the citizen of Bangladesh, a very compassionate, widely respected, who has been awarded citizenship of this country, and he had made and has been making huge contribution, outstanding contribution for the people of Bangladesh, and we wish him all the best. Thank you very much for watching this show, and we invite you to watch our next episode. Until then, do take care, and to know more updates about our programs and our other news, visit our website www.ntvd.com. Besides, visit our YouTube and verified Facebook page for updates over NTV's all popular programs and bulletins. Thank you very much for being with us, and thank you. Have a good time.